Hello and welcome to another edition of Natural Health Solutions with Pioneer Wellness Research. I'm Jay Tilghman and this is your certified natural health professional and herb specialist Cookie Tilghman, and today we'll be discussing the respiratory system. Before we get started, let me remind you that we have entered into a joint venture with Real Low Pharmacy here in Surf City, and Cookie will be there taking appointments for wellness assessments every Thursday from 1 to 4 and every Friday from 9:30 until 4:30. So give her a call at 910-330-3838 or email us at info@pioneerwellness.net and we will be glad to set an appointment for you. The respiratory system, let me ask you, how many people do you know that suffer from allergy symptoms? How about asthma? How about sinus infections or bronchial infections of some kind? The respiratory system is complex, but it's easily nourished by herbal nutrients to improve the function. Today we'll be discussing some herbal options such as fenugreek and thyme. There's a combination called sinus support that we have. Histoblock is another effective herbal combination. And one of the most popular is ALJ. You can go to our website at pioneerwellness.net and research these products on your own and then follow up with us for more information. Also wanted to mention the fact that we're overusing antibiotics and steroids in trying to address respiratory infections and symptoms, and we're overusing these, and it's suppressing some of the natural functions that the respiratory and immune systems together are trying to let us know, okay, something is out of balance here and needs to be addressed. Keep that in mind, and we'll discuss that a little bit more later in the show. We're going to take a short break, and when we return, we'll go in depth with Cookie on the parts of the respiratory system, the function, the malfunction, some causes versus symptoms, and also some natural solutions. And we'll be right back with that information.
Our all-important respiratory system. Well, needless to say that an optimally functioning respiratory system is critical to good health. You can live a few days without water, a few days without food, but you can only live a few minutes without air. Did you know that more than 400,000 Americans die of lung disease each year, the third leading cause of death in the United States? It's a pretty important respiratory system, isn't it? Cigarette smoking is a major cause of lung disorders, but non-smokers are not immune to respiratory illnesses. So how does this big respiratory system work? Well, it's designed to allow gas exchange throughout the body. We inhale oxygen and we exhale carbon dioxide. The upper part of the respiratory system includes our nasal passages, our sinuses, our pharynx, and our larynx. The lower part of our respiratory system include the trachea, known as our windpipe, bronchi and bronchioles, which are airways, alveoli, which are little air sacs, and the lungs, of course. Because the respiratory system acts and functions as one unit, symptoms that affect the nose or the sinuses may also affect the bronchi and the lungs. Let's talk about a visual of how this works. Picture a tree upside down. The windpipe is the trunk of the tree. And then there are two large limbs, and they are the bronchi, air tubes. The bronchioles are smaller and smaller branches, and the air sacs are like balloons, like buds called alveoli. Red blood cells are so important because the tiny blood vessels called capillaries absorb oxygen to be taken throughout the body, and the red blood cells also release waste gases, including carbon dioxide, that is expelled during exhalation. We talked about this last week with the immune system and how important those red blood cells are. Did you know your lungs contain almost 1,500 miles of airways, and each day you take over 20,000 breaths, and you don't even have to think about it. That's the innate wisdom of your amazing living organism. Now, the respiratory system sometimes doesn't function as well as we want it to. There are non-infectious and infectious diseases that can affect that respiratory tract. Some of the non-infectious most common are asthma. Asthma is chronic or long-term lung disease. The sensitive airways react to irritants by swelling and narrowing, which leads to wheezing and coughing and chest tightness and just breathing trouble. Very frightening. Hay fever, or allergic inflammation of the nasal passages, and the symptoms of those are sneezing, runny or congested nose, coughing, itchy eyes, itchy nose, itchy throat, and postnasal drip. COPD. That stands for chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Emphysema is another word. The alveoli lose their elasticity in this condition and become like stretched out rubber bands. Smoking is the most common cause of COPD, but there are other causes as well. Chronic bronchitis is another form of COPD. Itis. Any word with itis on the end of it means inflammation of that part of your body. Inflammation, and it's associated with long-term exposure to toxins and irritants in our environment. Secondhand smoke can be just as problematic. Now, infectious diseases of the respiratory tract include the common cold. A viral infection is most common from a common cold, and it can come from one of more than 200 cold-causing viruses. Sore throat, fever, achy body, runny nose, all those are symptoms. Sinusitis, that's another itis word, inflammation leading to the production and drainage of mucus through the nose. Swollen passages lead to pain and pressure. Years ago, I dealt with a lot of sinusitis. I dealt with it for over 12 years with lots of inflammation, one infection right after the other. I used traditional medications, over-the-counter drugs. This was before I knew about any alternative choices. After about 12 years and being diagnosed with diverticulitis during that same period, I was told that the only thing that the medical field knew to do in regard to the diverticulitis was to cut out part of my colon. I didn't make that choice. I met a naturopath, did not know what that word meant, met a naturopath, and he suggested that we work on the colon for the sinuses. And my response was, I don't think you heard me. That's the other end of my body. But he further told me that in Eastern medicine, in Chinese medicine, every part of our body has a mate, works dual. So we continued to clean out my colon. Remember, part of your immune system's there. And to my wonderful surprise, I didn't have sinus infections. And it's been 18 years since I've had a sinus infection, and I focused on keeping that colon clean. So I do hope that you'll make a contact so that we can help you live optimal good health in your life. Now, the croup is another infectious disease. It's usually viral, and it is most common in children under 6 years of age. The symptom with that is a barking cough. It can be frightening. Influenza, the flu, it's another viral infection, and it affects the respiratory system, of course. Symptoms include body aches, chills, fever, cough, headaches, and sore throat. All of those are similar to the common cold, but the onset is more sudden and the symptoms are more severe with the flu. Acute bronchitis, another itis word, can be viral or bacterial inflammation, usually short-lived. Pneumonia, another inflammation usually caused by either viruses, bacteria, or fungi. Fungal infections are becoming more common in our environment as our environment becomes more toxic.